Hello Writing Bull Humankind is explained by Writing Bull. In the playlist up in the corner, you'll find all these short tutorial videos like the one I'm showing you here. In this case, one about the game world of Humankind. A quick orientation. We can toggle the interface on and off with Shift and F10. We can move in the 4 cardinal directions using WASD, and with Q and E, we can also rotate the map back and forth. With the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out of the map, and by holding down the left mouse button, you can also move the map around. The map is divided into individual territories. You can see this quite well if you zoom out a bit. There's an abstraction of the map when you click the politics icon at the bottom left, or if you just keep zooming out, you'll see a political view. Empires can be identified by their colors. You can see that the map is divided into individual territories by these dashed lines. These are generated automatically when the map is created. Rule of thumb: in each territory you can only place one city, and only one civilization can place a city there. You claim and occupy a territory, taking it from others. There are 3 different levels of visibility on the map. Down here it's completely grey, which means no one has ever been here, no one has passed by here yet. We don't know what terrain features there are, and we also don't know who might be there. A little further up there's this lighter shade of grey. That means we've already taken a look here, but we don't know which enemy units might be there. Around our own units, like this unit here, or also around our cities. In contrast, we have complete visibility. We know what the world looks like and whether someone else is there. The map is divided into hex tiles. At the bottom right, you can turn them on and off to show or hide them. You can also toggle terrain yields on or off, and it displays them here as well. These are food, represented by the green wheat or grain symbols. Red stands for industry symbols, yellow stands for money, and blue stands for research. And sometimes there are also purple influence symbols to be found on the map. There is also water, not just land. For example, there are rivers like these here. River tiles increase the yields. Later in the game, you can also use the technology tree shown in the bottom left to research specific technologies. You can research buildings there, then build them in cities for extra yields. On rivers, this also applies to forests, for example, or to other learned terrain features. My tip would be to settle near rivers or forests. It can also be helpful to settle on the coast. There are different water tiles on the map. On the one hand, there are lakes like this one, and then there are coastal tiles and ocean tiles out here. The really dark tiles are ocean, while the others are coastal. Later in the technology tree, you can unlock the ability to move land units directly onto the water. They transform into transport ships, which at first can travel along the coastal areas, but could also go out onto the oceans. But then it can happen that a ship sinks and goes down. However, as the game progresses, you can also explore with more seaworthy ships. There are also separate ships that aren't just launched units, and you unlock those as you progress through the game. There are also various other terrain features. For example, there are Night Wanderer terrain markers. The first faction to reveal a Night Wanderer gets 50 glory points. Glory points are tracked at the top left. This is the main victory condition. Whoever has collected the most glory at the end of a game wins the game. Sometimes there are landmarks like this one, which indicate that we've plundered a spot here once. That means we moved one of our units onto a terrain feature that's a refuge, an area where, for example, red barbarians keep spawning, and carried out a plundering action there. These are the kinds of creatures you can find. Here, for example, you see red barbarians, and here mammoths. Our units usually have 4, 3, or 5 movement points. Units form armies. In this case, we have a single unit. You can see that up to 4 units would fit into such an army. Holding the right mouse button lets us send them across one or multiple terrain tiles. But how many points are used, how many terrain points, movement points are used, you can see in the tooltip at the bottom left. There are just areas that use more or fewer movement points. Clicking on the unit itself shows you that units like this, for example, sometimes lose fewer movement points when they move onto a forest, for example. That means you can move a unit along this path directly, move step by step or all at once, and we can also attack enemy units by right-clicking on a unit. If there is a combat preview, if we right-click again, it would confirm the action and a battle would take place. We could either let it play out automatically or handle it manually on a separate tactics map that appears from this strategic map. There are also specific river rules, as shown here. The last movement point. When we move onto a river, all our movement points are used up. So it's a good idea to use up all your other movement points first, and only move onto a river with your last point, so you don't waste any points. Then there are elevation differences. You may have noticed that this is all one elevation level here. If it's just one elevation level higher, that's a gentle slope, so you can move onto it. The game converts elevation differences of 2 or more levels into cliffs. You can't overcome such cliffs directly, which means you have to look for areas, you have to look for passes, and try to use them to get up and down those cliffs. That's not possible here. You couldn't get down directly, but we could move along like this. We also have more visibility the higher up we are. That would also be helpful for scouting. The higher up you are, the farther you can see, but be careful when moving through forests. In forests, you can only see into the adjacent field. So, you can't look through the forests and see what's on the other side. Unless you have an elevation advantage, if you're higher up, then you can. That's basically the most important thing about the game world. Everything else, like how a game starts in the Stone Age, I'll show you how a game starts in the next video.